Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here to break down all the things happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. On today's show, I've got a Bachelor Nation staple. He was on the 12th season of The Bachelorette and competed on season 3 of Bachelor in Paradise before he went on to become the regular bartender and co-host of the show. Of course, I'm talking about Wells Adams. Wells also just got off of season 3 of the hit show, The Traitors. And for all of you listeners out there, you know I am a huge Traitors fan. So when I saw my friend on the show, I knew I had to have him on the podcast to get the behind-the-scenes dirt from the castle, and he delivered. So we're going to get to that. But before we do, quick just pop culture note that I had to take to the mic. Does anyone remember Speidi? Because they are back in the news and more relevant than ever. So, of course, I'm talking about Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag, who back when they were on The Hills really became kind of these TV villains. They became reality TV royalty, but also really people turned on them in a really horrific way. Obviously, Heidi became really famous for the amount of surgeries that she was having to look different. Spencer was doing a lot of crazy things in the news. They were staging a lot of paparazzi. But most notably, Heidi wanted to become the next Britney Spears and released a pop album. And as she was recording that album, the world just really turned on them and it never did anything. And now they're having this epic sort of comeback in this really wild way. They were impacted, unfortunately, by the fires in LA, and so many people were, but they took to their Instagram and TikTok to really share their story and their pain. You know, they lost everything that they had. They haven't really worked in a number of years. They shared that they were living paycheck to paycheck and just kind of, as Heidi said, they were house poor. Everything that they had was in that house. And their story is actually quite tragic. And they're not alone. There are so many people impacted by the fires in LA. And I mentioned this on the last episode, but if you know someone, or even if you don't, and there's something that you can do to give, the American Red Cross is a great place to start. There are so many people that have been unfortunately impacted by the fires there, and they really need our help. But Spencer and Heidi have really turned this thing into a crazy pop culture moment because the world rallied around them. And Heidi's album, after however many years it's been now, it's probably 10 years old, hit the Billboard 200 this week. It debuted at number 53, I believe. But her songs were going number 1 on iTunes. She is relevant in music all of a sudden. And it's a really wild thing to see sort of this conclusion to their reality TV story. And I'm going to reach out to our friend Andy Cohen here. I feel like we need to get cameras on Heidi and Spencer. Oh, actually, it won't be Andy Cohen because they're feuding. I forgot that at one point someone suggested that Heidi be a Real Housewife. And he said something like, oh, she's too trashy for the housewives or something. And so Spencer has now said that he would never work with Andy Cohen and he doesn't want to be associated with housewives or Bravo in any kind of way. So there is a bit of a feud going, but they are making themselves relevant again in a really massive way. And this time because they really need to, and they're doing the work to make ends meet and get back on their feet. And, everyone's kind of applauding them. So these one-time TV villains who were a bit of a joke is now having a redemption story. And so it's been really cool to see, but that is definitely something that's happening in pop culture right now. But without further ado, I want to get right into the guest today because, like I said, we go way back. He used to be a radio DJ here in Nashville. We were in the same circles, and so we got to spend some time together. He is a really great guy. And then he went on, like I said, to the 12th season of The Bachelorette, has appeared in The Bachelor in Paradise, and he is married to Sarah Hyland, hilarious Sarah Hyland from Modern Family. And she's also on Broadway. She's so talented, and the two of them are so funny on online together. And so I was thrilled when I saw that he was added to the season 3 cast of The Traitors, and I could not wait to watch him. And so, without further ado, let's get right to him. Wells Adams, welcome to The Gist.
Hey, Chris. I knew you a long time ago. This was a nice little surprise to get this asked to do this podcast, because I remember back when you used to work for a magazine in Nashville called Native.
Yes, Native. Well, it was Bright, the Native.
Yeah, I went through a couple different iterations.
Yes.
I dated the girl who designed it, so I remember going and hanging out with you guys a lot. So
yeah,
I assume it's no longer there, but that's too bad because it was a good magazine.
Yeah,
I wrote for that magazine, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I wrote album reviews because I was doing radio then. So yeah, I think I did my Wells Smells a Hit bit for the magazine. Anyways.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah, that was like a different time. And then you went on to obviously, as you mentioned, you were dating someone at the time, and then you weren't dating anyone, but you decided to take it to the small screen and share your potential love life with folks on The Bachelor, which I'm not a Bachelor Nation person. I'm more of a Bravo bro. But I did watch your season, so you're the only one that I ever watched. I stopped watching when you got eliminated because fuck that. But
which I hope you've done for Traitors as well. You only got to watch 2 episodes, and you said, "Listen, Wells is gone. I'm out of here."
No, I am continuing on because I love Traitors, and like I said, Bravo bro. So we'll get into the housewives of it. But yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of folks know you from this Bachelor Nation. Obviously, also your incredible wife, Sarah Hyland. You guys are hilarious online. So you've really created this brand. Now you're basically co-hosting Bachelor in Paradise. You're a staple in pop culture now, especially in reality TV. But I want to get right into, as you mentioned, The Traitors, because when I saw your name on the cast list, I was like, there he is. So I want to get I want you to spill the tea here because I know you're great at that. But what was it like when you got that call, especially coming off of season 2, which was such a juggernaut season of The Traitors?
Yeah, I think I might have been approached to do it in past seasons, and I wasn't able to do it because we filmed Paradise around the same time that we would do Traitors, and it was kind of serendipitous because they had taken a pause on doing Paradise because we went to go film The Golden Bachelorette. And so we weren't doing Paradise that summer. I kind of always just block off my summer to go, make that TV show. And then when that didn't happen, it was like, oh, okay, well, what do I go do now, I guess? The time my wife was on Broadway doing Little Shop. So I was like, I'll just live in New York and have a good time. And then, the call came in, and it was like, I remember my manager being like, you remember the show Traitors? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, Pilot Pete was on it prior and did really well. And he was like, do you want to go on the show? And I was like, well, I'm not doing Paradise, so yeah, why not? So it was kind of like a perfect, the stars aligned for me to go do the show.
Yeah, and when you find out you're getting there, had you watched The Traitors before? Were you familiar with the game?
I was. It's funny because, well, I think it's a popular game just in the United States, but especially in Los Angeles and like within like the Hollywood circles, a lot of actors play this game called Mafia or Werewolf, and it's basically what the game is.
Right.
The total ripoff of that.
Yeah.
And so I had played it like with a bunch of actors. I was terrible at it. I'm terrible at it with actors because they are so good at pretending to be other people and other things, and I'm always myself on TV. So I was very familiar with it. And then once I think I signed, I was like, I should probably watch all these seasons. So I went back and I watched like Ari's season and then Pilot Pete's season, and then I even watched like some of the UK stuff just to know kind of what I was getting myself into. But the US one is kind of unique because it is, quasi celebrities and not just like regular old folks. And so that's an interesting little wrinkle because, if you come in the show like on the UK where it's just, regular people, you have no idea of whom these people are, if they're lying, but you have a little bit of a sense of who these people are from TV and, and what shows they make and what shows, and what they do on said show. So yeah, it's a little bit different in the US and compared to the other ones. And, I enjoyed making it.
Yeah. And so did you go into kind of like thinking about strategy for the gameplay, or were you thinking more about, Phaedra Parks was kind of like this, epic television last season? Were you thinking more about the creating television moments?
Yeah, I always am thinking about how do you make the best TV possible.
Yeah.
I'm just so used to it. And to be honest with you, everyone there is like that. Like if you're, my other show, Bachelor in Paradise, I always say that's like our all-star game. It's like all the best people who make TV come to that show. And I feel like that's what this was too, So I think everyone kind of feels that way. But, the strategy that I had coming in, it's like hindsight's 2020. On Paradise, I'm so very good at just sitting back, listening to everyone's story, giving advice. That's kind of the shtick of the therapist / bartender. And I'm usually a really good read of people. And so my plan was to kind of sit back and just kind of take it all in. And when Alan asked, like, if you want to be a traitor, I was just indifferent. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would be good at being a traitor because, I have no problem like lying to like make a good TV show. And I think I'd also be good as a faithful because I am a good read of everyone. I guess like looking back, I probably should have like begged to be a traitor because at least you have like a little bit of control over like what happens. And also like the traitors are making the craziest decisions this season that I think that I would have been a voice of reason, the turret, been like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we killing this person off?
Yeah.
So yeah, I came in there with like a little bit of a plan, but to be honest with you, I was in and out so quickly that I didn't even get to enact it.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a bummer because I was so excited. I mean, there was truly out of the cast, it was like, Dorinda's going to make incredible television because like she's going to go in there and be Dorinda, which we got like a little bit of like when she got back from the challenge. And then Wells, I was like, oh, I actually thought you'd be a perfect traitor. I was like, oh, he's going to be kind of like Ari as like a traitor. I think he could like really, he's going to win everyone over, but then also be great at stabbing them in the back. So I was ready to like watch. And then episode 2 was just like the most devastating thing when you guys both end up going home in that second episode.
Yeah. After you get murdered or banished, you have to film with the person of whom was also either murdered or banished. So I had to like go do kind of like press with Dorinda. And we both were like, those idiots. They got rid of 2 of the best TV makers we had on the cast, Yes. And it's funny because the season before they did this at Johnny Bananas, of whom I've done a TV show with, of whom I'm very good friends with. And they got rid of him immediately. And I was like, come on, at some point we got to worry about ratings, guys. We can't be getting rid of Johnny Bananas and Dorinda. Like, these are huge names. But yeah, that's the game.
Yeah, I wonder, it does feel like there was a bit more strategy, and I felt like it was Bob. I was like, why are they? I think Dolores called it Housewives Hunters at this point. It's no longer Traitors. And like Housewives were going, do you feel like that was because people were targeting these characters that could potentially take the spotlight away from them in the season? Were people more aware of that this time around? Or do you truly think it was just like the luck of the draw?
Yeah, I think it was bad gameplay on a lot of the Traitors' parts. Like a lot of the choices that they've made so far haven't made a whole lot of sense to me as someone who's like a fan of the show. Maybe what you're saying with like not wanting to like give away a little bit of a spotlight would make sense for Bob because he is such a big personality, but everyone was. I'm not really sure if that's what the thought was. I think Bob's idea in the turret was chaos is king, and I want to do that. And I think that there is a little bit of, there is some, it's smart to kind of do that, but then also if chaos is the only thing that you're doing, then you don't have a plan. And the thing that separates traitors from faithful is traitors have the information, and information is king in that world. And if you're not setting other faithfuls up with your murders of faithfuls overnight, then what's the point of it? Like there was a couple that like it didn't lead to anything. Like killing Ian doesn't lead to anyone being like, you know who would have done it? It would have been Robin, you know? So a lot of the decisions that the Traitors have been making, I'm like, I don't get it, because it's not leading people into bad decisions. All it did was lead people back to Bob, honestly. You know, like what Bob did to me at the round table was so very obvious, I think. Like watching it, you know, when you watch it, you get to see who the Traitors are and who the Faithfuls are. But when you are doing the show, obviously you don't know. And I remember in the middle of it, I thought Robin was a traitor, and I was like, and obviously Bob is. He's totally quarterbacking this whole thing. And I think a lot of people saw that. I think Boston Rob saw that and was like, okay, we can't be this obvious, you know?
Yeah, I think that's now happening, like with Danielle too. I think that it's like there's too many things that are just like wildly not thought through. But it is strange that people pointed at you. I thought your theory that it could have been Robin, even though as a viewer knowing it wasn't Robin, made way more sense. And when you first presented that, I was like, oh, Wells just nailed it. Robin's going to be banished today. Yeah. And then somehow like she flipped the script and everyone in there was like voting your name, and I was like, what just happened? Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it was a frustrating situation because, one, I didn't think that going into that roundtable, I did not think that I was in trouble, really. I didn't hear people were saying my name until about 10 minutes before we went into the roundtable. Dylan was the one. I had like an alliance with Dylan. He came up and he was like, dude, people are saying your name. I'm like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. And to go back a little bit, you know, killing Dorinda, the reason why I say, and it was to my downfall, and like looking back, I just should have shut the hell up, and I couldn't do that, but I was just being honest. Like, it was a knee-jerk reaction when the mission beforehand, the Dragon Boat mission, we all left like that night being like, Dorinda is definitely a traitor, and we're all going to kill her, right? Everyone was like, or we're going to banish her, right? And everyone was like, yeah, we're definitely. One, we all thought that there had to be a housewife as a traitor. And two, she was just like so over the top where we were like, what is happening? You're kind of overacting here. So then when we wake up in the morning and she's murdered, that's why I was like, that's so dumb. We were going to do that. We were going to banish her tonight. Why? If you're a traitor, you need to get people out that are threats. She wasn't a threat because she was a dead man walking. And that's why I say it. Like, it made no sense. And I also wasn't the only one that said it. That's what's really frustrating. When Robin comes into the billiards room and she kind of confronts me, she asked, like, what do you guys think? And I say, I think it was a dumb move. I had been talking with everyone there about it, and everyone agreed with me. Everyone was like, why would you do that? And then she came in, she got really defensive and was like, I think it was really smart. And so did Sam. And I immediately was like, whoa, surely you're not this dumb to be a traitor and be offended that I'm calling your move stupid in front of everybody. Like, surely not. But also I immediately, the energy changed. Everyone felt it. And I was like, I'm going to leave now. Which I probably should have like stood 10 toes down and been like, no, it was dumb. We were going to banish her tonight. So yeah, my argument to her was, I think, founded in like a certain amount of reality. And I think a lot of people understood and agreed with me. The thing is, and I even said it like in my interview before I went into the roundtable, which was, I don't really know who I'm going to vote for because they'd killed Dorinda. So I was like, I'm just going to pile on to whoever's getting votes. Like, whoever looks like they're in trouble, I'm going to pile on because I don't know. And I think that's just what happened to me.
Right. Yeah, it seemed strange. And also I feel like, I guess you just didn't have enough time to really build alliances. Like, you had this kind of like nice, sweet relationship with Chanel Ayan, and it seemed like that was like very cool. And she was obviously very upset when you got sent home. But it was like surprising seeing some of the people like turn their cards and having your name on it. It was like, it just felt like out of nowhere. So people were just sort of piling on. One of the things that I love though about the show, and it's like the housewives, I don't know how much you've seen of the housewives, but the producers always show how much or what they're ordering at dinner. And it's kind of like become a thing. And I feel like very similarly at Traitors, the thing is that they show how everybody spells each other's names.
Oh yeah.
And I just like, I find that to be like one of the most like entertaining parts of the hour is, I mean, I think it was Sam, but like spelled Wells with one L, and it's just like
shockingly, Sam cannot spell.
I know that was the shock. He also can't speak apparently. I think I've heard him say 4 words.
Yeah,
and then I was like, wait, Wells got sent home for talking. Sam's gonna make it all the way to the end because he just doesn't say anything and people forget he's in the room. But yeah, it's wild, and that's one of my favorite things. Sierra, it's like watching people try to spell these names.
So
like,
I clocked that from watching seasons past, and I was like, I do not want to be that person that's spelling people's names wrong. So I need a list of everyone's name, how it's spelled, and I would go. It's funny. I went and I made sure I remembered how to spell it. Robin's with a Y and Nikki's with an I. It was like I clocked that because I was like, I don't want to look like that guy. Yeah, Sam spelled my name WEL''S. I mean, I've seen some weird spellings of my name, but that one was chef's kiss.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, is the apostrophe the other L? Like, am I thinking too much about it? But it's an apostrophe. The other piece that I'm curious is your reveal, because everyone obviously has to go on once they've been banished, and they have to give this kind of speech, and some of them are like really epic. Do you have time to prepare that, or do you go into every banishment roundtable? Like, did you already kind of know when my time comes, if it comes, this is what I'm going to say?
Yeah, I think I grew up in the 90s, when every coming of age, high school movie had a slow clap. And I was like, I just really want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because one, I've made enough TV now. I'm like, well, if I'm not going to be on this show, I'm going to make a splash somehow.
Yeah.
So I knew I was going to do something. And it was funny because, the entire cast, we all got together and were like, wouldn't it be great if we were the first season that gets a traitor out first? Let's be that, that season. And I'm sitting there thinking this is the dumbest move in the world. I don't know how you guys thought that I was a traitor.
Yeah.
And so and I was also angry. I was really annoyed that this happened. I had just gotten there. I didn't think I really did a whole lot to kind of deserve what happened to me. So I wanted them to think that they were smart.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing was playing a smart game isn't always the smartest, which I'm standing by because I'm watching the show back with all of you and I'm like, none of this makes any sense. This is the dumbest. The only move that the Traitors have made that I thought was smart was Boston Rob not putting a traitor in one of those caskets. That's the only one I thought where I'm like, that was good. So I wanted all of them to think that they had gotten a traitor and be really, really excited. I wanted them to feel that. And then when I was like, yeah, I'm a faithful, you idiots. And then I just turn around like, good job, you idiots. But yeah.
Yeah. No, it was good television. So you made your mark. I'm hoping that you get maybe you and Johnny Bananas and get the Kate Chastain treatment someday and get to come back on a future season, because I do think it would be great to see you go a little bit further and have a little bit more strategy, because I think you could have actually been the pilot Pete, and I think probably worked really well with Dylan and stuff.
I had an amazing plan. This was frustrating. It was cut because I was banished. But so I didn't think I was gonna get banished. I thought I was gonna get murdered by the Traitors because I was saying that the Traitors' move was stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. So we went into that mission where we had to get all these gold coins, get these these yahoos out of these bird trees, these bird nests or whatever, bird cages. And everyone was getting down Boston. Rob never was getting down Derek, and no one was getting down Wes. Well, I'm the only person who was truly a challenge fan, and I was like, Wes is my guy. So I told him before, out there, I was like, I'm going to get you down. And so they didn't really show it this way, but the truth of the matter is that I got probably 90% of his coins. I single-handedly got him down. And I told him while he was up there, I was like, I think that they're going to try to kill me tonight, so I really want this immunity shield. And so I get him down. I'm me and Dylan are running wind sprints up and down this hill where everyone else is kind of stop caring. Yeah. And I'm going balls to the wall because I want to get Wes down and I want this immunity shield because I think that the Traitors, Robin, is going to murder me because I said that their move was stupid. And so we get done. We go back to the castle. They didn't show it, but Wes was like, I'm going to give you the immunity. And I was like, awesome. I have a plan. And he goes, okay. So then I pull Ian aside and, for as kind of flighty as Ian is, she was like, I think that Bob the Drag Queen's a traitor. And I was like, I think it's Robin. And I've got a plan. And she was like, okay, what's the plan? I said, well, Wes is going to give me the shield. You need to say that you got the shield. I'm going to say that I saw him give you the shield. So I'll back you up. You'll be safe tonight because everyone's going to think that you've got a shield. And I'll be safe because I'll actually have the shield. This is exactly what Pilot Pete did. But I was just redoing this bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then when they can't kill me tonight, we'll come to breakfast tomorrow, and we'll know it's Robin because she was offended that I said that her move was stupid and she couldn't kill me. That was my whole plan. And it was like I used so much of this energy for this plan, knowing that I should have just been like, hey guys, I'm not traitor. Please believe me, I'm not a traitor. Or I should have been accusing somebody else,
Yeah. Or, yeah, I think it's, that first one is so tough too. Like I for sure thought it was going to be a Sam or just like a Sandoval just because it was Sandoval and everyone seemed to, like the Bambis seemed to hate him like straight from the get-go. And, it was like, oh, he's just going to go because like no one wants him there. And like no one has anything typically at the first round table. Everyone's like, we don't really have anything yet. So someone threw around some theories and it ended like in a really poor way for you. So hate to see that. I know you've got your podcast, your favorite things. And so I want to know who was your favorite of the cast when you arrived in Scotland?
Yeah, Ian was my favorite. I loved her to death. She's, I've done so many reality shows and I've come across so many different reality personalities. And a lot of times they're kind of like vapid and, egocentric and stuff, present company included. And she was so beautiful, like inside and out. Like she was like this is bright light of just badassery. I loved her so much. She had no idea what game she was playing. I don't think she cared. She just looked good all the time and was just like so lovely. Yeah. I loved her. I loved Dylan. Dylan and I were tight. Like I honestly thought that Dylan and I were going to run the table and go because we were so similar. We're both relatively smart people. I was just louder and he was quiet, and I thought like this would be a perfect alliance. Yeah. I'm a fan of Wes. Then I became friends with Wes. Loved him. Dorinda, I ended up spending a lot of time with because we both got kicked out kind of at the same time. So, I really enjoyed everybody. What the frustrating thing about the Robin thing was that there's a lot of time in which you're like driving places or going places where you're not being filmed. Right. And I was always with Robin. Like she was always the person in the car that I was in, or I was sequestered with her. And so like I got to know her really well and I became really friendly with her. And we talked about, like she had some issues with her podcast that I was like trying to help her out with. I thought that we were tight. And then when she did that, I was like, I'm so hurt. Like I've been hanging out with you more than anybody, Yeah. So yeah, that was a bummer, but
yeah. So would you do it again if asked?
I don't think so. I think I'm better at, doing the hosting thing than
getting in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that, you're short on time and, this has been great to just catch up because like you said, we go way back.
I got to ask, Tragic Kingdom, is that still a blog? You had a blog back in the day called Tragic Kingdom.
I did. And now it's Listen, It's Vetrano, and that's where the gist lives. And so it's taken its shape and different forms over the years. But yes, Tragic Kingdom was. Are
you impressed that I remember that? I mean, that's got to be, 10, 12 years.
It's
removed.
Very impressive. Yes. No, I was like, there is also a chance that like Wells comes on the call. Is like, hey, good to meet you. Like, yeah. I was like, it's been so long, but no, I'm glad to know that I made enough of an impact that you said yes to come by today.
Yeah, of course. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. I'm so like, I love seeing everything that's happened to you and like you doing kind of all the things that you did. I mean, Lightning 100, not the same since you've been there. Live on the Green, not the same with how, you guys hosting. Now. It's, but it's, it's just really nice to see kind of like people go on and really shine and you're doing that. So it's been awesome to watch. But what's kind of next for you?
Well, Sunday, I'm hosting red carpet for the Grammys for the pre-show on E. So that's like literally what's next is I have to memorize songs and records and everything. So I make sure I don't sound like an idiot on the red carpet. So that's what's happening on Sunday. And then, ABC says we're doing Paradise. So I'm, fingers crossed we go back because that show is so fun to make. I also think that it's like a show that I think that we need, because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun. It's silly. And then like really wonderful relationships like come out of it. So hopefully we film that this summer, and then we'll see what else. I got my podcast I do with Brandy Cyrus called Your Favorite Thing. We've been doing that since back when you knew me on the radio. So I'm doing that, and I've got a couple other things that we're about to announce, but I can't yet. But yeah, Grammys.
Awesome. Well, luckily you won't have to write any of their names on the boards before you interview them. So you just have to learn their songs.
Charlie XCX.
With a Y and a couple of E's. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again for doing this and stopping by. Always so good to see you. And we will be checking you out this Sunday at the Grammys.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you, Chris.
Awesome. Good to see you. I'll see you. Man, I love that guy. He is so real. He's so authentically him. I love, he's talking about his own ego of like being a reality TV star, because in order to do what he does or to do any of this kind of reality TV stuff, you have to have a bit of an ego and be willing to put it all out there. And he just does that in such an authentic way. And I think it's why he really resonates with so many people, because we saw him on The Bachelorette and America fell in love with him. The Bachelorette didn't that season. I don't even remember which one it was, to be honest. But she didn't fall in love with him. But America did, and it's so clear as to why. He's such a great guy. So what a joy to have him on the show. But yeah, so guys, as we talked about, the Traitors has a lot going on, and the season is just getting started. Yes, we've lost Wells. Yes, we've lost some of our juggernaut players already this season. And it seems as though these Traitors have no idea how to play the game. But it will hopefully make for some good television to come. So keep tuning in. And of course, keep tuning into The Gist, because it's always so fun to bring you these interviews and my thoughts on all the things happening in pop culture. Don't forget, you can follow me at CM Vetrano on all the social platforms. Really doubling down on Instagram with the uncertainty of all the other platforms. But find me there, and let's keep the conversation going. And until next time, it's been Chris Vetrano signing off. Bye.